2/3 of the floor area. Lapeer,
I don't want to go back and forth on that, but Harrison Township and this township are not the same thing at all. That's a beachfront community with very small lots and the preponderance of the township.
Yeah, I think the point is that other townships do have some kind of proportionality aspect to their
Yeah.
ordinance.
And I can understand that, and the city of Lapeer is a city, it's well-defined districting, and then Addison Township, I guess my question is, when it says several residential districts, what are the other districts doing in that township?
Okay, great. Great.
So it's not saying it's all of them, it's saying it's some of them that it's regulated, not all, several. And I mean, shame on me, I didn't look it up. But I thought we were sticking to Ray, but I understand what you're saying. So I guess my question is that, let's say their R1A, R1B, and R1C districts are reduced, but how about we have a rural suburban here, which is our largest district, and let's say that they don't have that cap on that at all, but I don't know that, and this doesn't show that.
That aside, I think having safeguards in place is a good idea for our township.
And what, I understand where you're going, it's just we were tied to land before, and now we're going to tie it to the house. So if you have somebody who bought, they're getting older, they want a smaller residential home, now I bought 20 acres, say I buy 10 acres, I have a 1,200 square foot ranch because I don't want to take care of a bunch of house that has an attached garage, that doesn't count. So I can have no larger than a 1,200 square foot barn, 30 by 40 period. But I just bought a whole bunch of land.
under permitted use.
Right, the point is that we can take into consideration each property individually if people want to do something bigger, and with the questions that we're using to determine if they qualify.
It's going to be on a really case-by-case basis, and we're going to be judging character of land at that point. And I don't know how you do that uniformly. My thing is, like, with language like this, it's a uniform set of language. You're bringing people in for SLU, you're asking for exceptions over and over and over again. And I thought that's what we were trying to not do.
Yeah.
So guiding them towards SLU is guiding towards exceptions and changes and...
That is true, but we've had very few SLU requests related to the size of the structure. They've almost always been, I mean, I can remember 2 in the last 5 years, if I'm remembering that chart correctly. They're almost always having to do with the location.
Yeah, for me, it was about the hard and fastness of the prior scale, not giving allowances for having larger land at all. It was, there was large irregular breaks, as Joe stated. You do an acre, then you do up to 2.5 acres, then you double it again before you're allowed to increase it. So
I don't have any
really-
problem with the sliding scale.
But I feel like we do have a problem with the sliding scale because now we're trying to diminish it immediately. We're trying to tie it to the home. So unless you build 4,000 square feet, you aren't getting what you can get with this scale without coming here and asking us to review the character of your land.
And then again, I just look back to what we do to people that come here to us and ask for a special land use. We ask them to justify their hardship. Why do they need this? And what is this board going to do? Because if I come here and I have a small home, I like to travel, I have a motor home and a boat, and I would like them inside, and maybe I do woodworking, and I would like a larger barn, are those going to be justifications, or are we going to just say, like we normally do, well, that's not a hardship? Because that's what we told this gentleman off of Van Dyke, the fact that you want to put your truck and trailer in your barn isn't a hardship. That's what we said, and that's why we're here. In the first place, we said, boy, that's pretty restrictive. You got enough land, you should have a bigger building. And he just would like his stuff inside. I don't know that this planning commission would allow that, to tell you the truth, based on what we've done in the past.
Joe, do you know if we've ever had a proportionality factor that applied to larger properties?
The only one I'm aware of is this 2.066 acre standard.
I guess it goes with, I should say, everybody probably knows, but on our sliding scale, we actually ended up more generous than Ray. I think they top out at 5,000 square feet.
Armada, Ray, and Washington all cap out at 5,000 square feet.
But Ray, say it again?
Armada, Ray, and Washington Township all max out at 5,000.
Right, and we wound up with 6.
Washington is the one that goes to 6, I think.
I don't think so.
It was in your first memo, I think.
Yeah. It's Armada and Ray cap out at 5,000.
Okay, so I'm generally not hearing enough support to include this provision in what we proposed for this evening. So at the moment, I think we move forward with the language that we have.
I got one other issue I just wanted to bring to the PC's attention. Ray does have a accessory building wall height restriction, which is 14 feet. And I really believe the reason they put that in there is because without a sidewall restriction and a 29 square foot, or excuse me, maximum midpoint roof allowable height, someone could come in and do a flat roof, 29 feet, which would result in a 29-foot high sidewall, which would, I believe, result in a commercial-looking building in a residential district.
Wouldn't that depend on the structure of the house? What the house itself look like?
Does, yeah, because it has to match the home, does it not? Does it substantially reflect the character of the home?
Pretty subjective. I mean,
A flat roof and a pitched roof.
yeah, but I mean, maybe a flat roof is an exaggeration. Somebody could come in with a lesser pitch roof than the principal structure and end up with a pretty high sidewall height. So again, you know, we started with Ray. I mean, we've got it. It's part of their ordinance. I mean, if we just use the one portion of their ordinance and ignoring the other portions, I think, you know, we're at risk of just kind of blowing up in our face at some point in the future. Somebody comes in under a permitted use and builds a huge building that's highly visible by their neighbors, and they're not going to know about it. There's not going to be any public notice because it's not a special land use, and their neighbors are going to be up here going, what is going on?
I don't mind the sidewall restriction.
Thank you.
Is there general support for a sidewall restriction?
I think Armada has a 16-foot sidewall, and I think there's one other nearby community that did 16 feet when I was looking at the
Armada
ordinances.
16, Elmont 16, and Ray's 14. Well, actually, Ray's 14 foot up to 3,000, and then 3,001 through 5,000 feet is 16 foot. And then, obviously, when you get into agricultural properties, they're a different category altogether.
Yeah.
I would support all of that, not just a 14-foot limit, but that wording.
You want a copy of it?
No, I would support that.
Okay.
I don't need a copy of it.
So the Ray-
3,000 break?
Yeah, 3,000 square foot breaks to
Yeah.
16 feet.
I think that's a
I would
good point.
support that.
Okay, so,
14-foot sidewall less than 3,000?
yeah, Joe, this is for you then.
Set a 16-foot sidewall limit, not greater than 3,000. Is that what we're
Yeah.
saying?
Did we, I know we
Okay.
touched a little bit on, for over 10 acres, the new proposal is at 6,000 square feet, and Ray is at 5,000 feet.
We just talked about that.
Yeah, so it went over my head. So where did we end up on that one?
We didn't change it.
Right?
Well, it's another example of how where we're winding up is we are now going to be the most permissive than anybody in our area on multiple fronts.
Yeah.
Overall size,
That
the
would-
fact that you get a freebie on the shed, the fact that we potentially will have no limitations on an overhang, no matter how big you can get it to work. And we also will have, and I understand Andrew's point, but we will also have no proportionality factor other than if you're on 2 acres or under.
I thought David submitted a 10-foot,
No, that,
I said I would support that. I don't know that there was enough support for that.
There
Right.
hasn't been a final tally on that one.
correct. I'm just saying that everything we've got on the table right now, we have gone from being apparently the most restrictive to the least restrictive on several fronts.
What if the 10 acres was 5,200 square feet instead of 6,000? Because everything goes 200 right down the scale, and then it jumps 1,000 square feet at the end.
Right, but we're saying 10 acre,
that's up to 50 acres.
yeah, it could be up
Well, I
to
know, but I
100
mean-
acres.
Well,
Because
currently,
the sliding scale ends at that point.
yeah, our current maximum allowable size is 4120 for over 15 acres. So, 5,000 or 5,200 is a significant increase. 6,000 is huge. That's a change from current to 5,000 is a 21.4% increase. A change from current to 6,000 is a 45.6 increase. I mean,
He's saying to change it to 5,200 rather than 6,000.
But then you could also, I'm not trying to change everything here, but you could tie, saying proportionality could be considered in an SLU process above 10 acres rather than have a line there. Because this thing slides all the way down through here, and then we don't want to do this to infinity.
okay, so what are we at new over? You said 10 acres, but what about if we go over 5 acres? So what's that put us at?
5 is 3,200.
That's a 3,200 square foot building. That's still pretty large.
It's not.
I mean, we're trying to come up with
I get it.
compromise, Ann.
Yeah, I get it.
Something that works for everybody, and
Yeah.
just, as Anne Marie just mentioned, the amount that we're increasing, I think we need to increase this. Mr. Clark that was here asked for us to look at this, and we did. And I think the Ray proposal looked interesting, you wanted more.
Yeah, it's more granular than it
Yeah,
was.
more granular. So, but I just think we've gone too far with it.
Right. If you look at what we were presented with, what caused this whole thing to begin with, and I think we intuitively could see that, is that the scales, what we were allowing was too small.
Clearly.
Whether we end up at 5,200 or 6,000, we've addressed that issue, but we've gone way, way beyond that.
Well, can we just, the number for 10 acres or more, 6,000, 5,200, where are we going with that? I think we can choose that number now and then go back to the original overhang discussion, which I think has the most bearing on the overall proportionality.
I do too.
In our old structure, we had a 10 to 15 and then a 15 and over. And I'd even be happy with over 10 acres, like 10 to 15, maybe 55, and over 15, 6,000, something like that. You're talking about a lot of land at that point. I have 20 acres. I'm not building any more barns, but I have a lot of room.
Is there support to add another row to this table so that 10 to 15 has one number and over 15 has a different one?
Well, if we can't get down to 5,000, I'd be in support of Andrew's request for 5,200 for 10 acres or more. That's a building that's 50 feet wide and 100 feet long. That's a huge building.
I would also support 5,200 for 10 acres.
So it would you just are suggesting, Andrew, to change that last line from 6,000 to 5,200?
Just trying to compromise, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
What do you do after that? Because I'm not signing on that one.
Okay. Yeah, it's just, but you're right, it does, because it stretches to the end for that.
Yeah.
Gee,
So then the biggest building is going to be 5,200.
Unless they come in for an
without coming in and
SLU.
asking.
Yeah, it sounds like there's 4 in support of that, the 5,200.
Okay. That's what we're saying, 5,200, over 10?
I'm okay with that.
And then I guess that brings it back to the roofed areas and whether or not to put a limit on the extension of those roofed areas.
Say that, what, Joe?
It brings us back to those roofed areas and whether or not to put a limit on that,
The porches.
the projection of those roofed areas.
Okay.
Are we going
Saying
to put a
roof
limit on
areas.
porches?
Yeah, right now, the potential compromise language I have down is the projection of such a roofed area from the outer wall of the building shall not exceed 10 feet. That was the one that was advanced, and we haven't made a decision on that.
I don't like the hard footage just because I think as the building gets bigger, I don't know that works.
Respectfully, I disagree, Jared. I think you got to have
That's fine, you can disagree.
some sort of limit on it. And again, SLU still remains.
Well, the goal is to not have a bunch of SLUs, Rick, so.
I understand that. We're not trying to create make work, but I really believe the way that this is structured, this is going to lessen SLU activity regarding accessory buildings for Dana.
And we're not going to
Not just for me.
the side yard or anything. I don't know when we,
Okay,
I'll tell
no offense, we've been at this for an hour, we got to get to, move on from
I'll
this
support
conversation,
10
so.
feet.
I would support 10 feet as well.
Yep, me too. It's better than nothing.
You're still,
Is there support at 10 feet?
It sounds like
you raised it. You're
someone
still
who
okay
advanced
with
it, you have 3
Yeah,
others.
I mean, it is a valid point that when you get a very large building, I didn't consider that, but when you get a large building, 10 feet may look out of place. if
Then you
it's
can
too
scale
small.
your building down a little bit so it looks proportional. You don't have to go right to the max and then add 10 feet. There's a lot of in-between gray area that we aren't discussing.
And you can always still,
Yeah.
it'd be a rare
Sure.
case, but you can still ask.
Sure. Yeah, come in as SLU, if it, with drawings, it looks better at 12 or whatever, it's still an option that remains.
I would prefer it's a percentage of the total square feet, but if we want to go to a hard number, that's fine.
What would that look like, a percentage of the?
I don't know,
So you mean
10%?
overhangs in general would be a percentage of the square foot of the building?
Yeah, not to exceed.
It's another potential way to do it.
I wouldn't be comfortable with coming up with a random percentage on the spot without doing some research.
We're coming up with a random foot, so I don't know what the difference
Well,
is.
he's basing it off of his personal experience.
And it's not, it is, It's very proportional. Again, I'll support 10 feet.
Is there support for 10 feet? I know we heard from Anne Marie, Rick, and Andy. Okay. Okay. I would move to open the public hearing at 7 PM. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barnett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the public hearing is now open, so if you are here to speak on this topic, please come up to the podium and state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Justin Clark, 72657 Henry D. Drive. Just want to make a few comments. The term, make this an SLU, has been thrown around a lot today, and when I was here a few weeks ago that brought up this whole conversation, I checked every single box that should have been an SLU other than a hardship, and I was denied. So in my opinion, an SLU is never going to pass unless it's a life or death situation, is what it feels like to me. So I think we need to avoid making SLU part of the process, because I pretty much threw away $100 trying to get an SLU to pass. It was, my place matched the house, it was proportionate, checked every single box other than I had a hardship, and I was told no. We're here today, I'm really happy we're reviewing it, but we keep throwing around that these other things we need to look to SLU for to get past that, and I just don't ever see that working. So that's my opinion on that. And then on this overhang issue, I think you should at least consider, if it is over, if you're going to make a 10-foot limit, if you go over that, then you subtract it from, like, let's say you have a 12-foot by 30-foot overhang, that 2 by 30 should be subtracted instead of saying you need an SLU to build that extra 2 feet, if that makes sense. So you're given a 10-foot overhang. If you exceed that, every foot beyond 10 feet times your depth would get subtracted from your allowance. I think that's a good compromise.
For the building itself?
Yeah.
For the building, correct, yeah. So if we're saying, like in my case, I'm limited to 2,600 square foot. If I want to build a 12-foot overhang, that's 30 foot deep, I have to go 300 square foot less or whatever, or 60 square foot less for every foot, if you don't get what I'm saying, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
That's my
Good
opinion.
suggestion.
Yeah, thank you.
That's about all I have to say.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew Betcher, 75695 Peters Drive. Out of respect for time, I just wanted to make one suggestion. The reason why there's a 16-foot height limit on walls is so that you can have a 14-foot garage door so that you can fit a motorhome or a larger camper inside. So if you guys are going between 14 and 16 for height of a sidewall, I would recommend 16, so people can use these larger pole barns for what they're a lot of times used for. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm David Clark. My address is 78872 Harvest Lane. I already built my accessory garage. I did it to the same brick as my house. I just want to say that you're on track with increasing the size now to fit what Ray has, because it was not proportional before. It wasn't the way it should have been before. You were way too restrictive. I highly agree that following the Ray Township is the way to go with increasing the sizes. I don't at all agree, though, that you should put a percentage based on the house, because as it was pointed out, somebody might want a smaller house. That's not their thing. Their house, some of us, we like our garages. We like our toys in our garages. We don't want the toys outside where people have to see them. We're trying to be respectful to our neighbors. That's why we want a large place that's proportional to our lot, not our house. And that's where we like to put our toys and keep it looking good in the community. And the restrictions should just be on that the accessory building that we build looks like our house, though. It has the same, don't make a little shack out there or something that doesn't match the house at all. That was where you should have your restrictions. But once you do the sliding rule like you have of Ray, I think that's definitely the way to go. But the percentage based on the house, I don't think that's the way to go at all, in my opinion. but I'm glad, I appreciate everybody looking at this. Like I said, I've already done my thing. I would have gone a little bit bigger if I could have before, but I'm so glad I did it. That is my hangout, is my garage. I put my vehicles in there, the car, boats, and all that stuff, all my toys. I love it. And when you have something like that, I mean, the neighbors can come over. It's just an enjoyable thing. And I think we were way too restrictive before, and I'm supportive of what I just said. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Era Duda, 69669 Fisher Road. We actually also applied for a special land use on the variance based off of our lot. And if I actually don't agree with the overhang restrictions. We're basing it off of a 10-foot, which I understand your building might look different, and I appreciate the suggestion, but if I'm going to put a 5,200 square foot building, a 10-foot overhang is just going to look not appealing to the eye. Possibly a percentage, like Jared shared, based off of the square foot that you're building, but I don't think restricting it to 10 foot is fair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody else? All right, move to close the public hearing at 7:07 PM.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barnett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, back to the commissioners. Got some good feedback from residents. Anything we want to tweak with what we've been discussing?
There's a recommendation by the one gentleman for over 10 on the overhang, that would come off the principal structure. What's the appetite for that?
I like it.
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
So then that would allow somebody to build a bigger outdoor. They just have to reduce their interior.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, that's a good idea.
Any other support?
I'll support it.
Yeah, I'd support it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I had one question for clarity.
Yeah.
The gentleman was speaking about the RVs being able to pull in and out. That's just the sidewall restriction, right? Not an end wall restriction? Right, the 14 to 16,
Sidewall,
it's a
yeah.
sidewall,
Correct,
only, not an
sidewall,
end
yeah.
wall.
So-
So theoretically, as the roof pitch rises, they could have a high head and have a higher door?
If you're building with
Goes in
scissor
clear.
trusses, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just wouldn't be
Just making
close
sure.
to the wall.
Yeah, maybe an inset door.
Yeah, I think that was the other, what we had noted down is 14-foot sidewalls less than 3,000 square feet,
Just the
16-foot
sides.
sidewalls higher than 3,000 square feet. Are we good with that, based on what Andrew's just suggested?
Yes.
Okay. And then we've got the over 10 was down to 5,200. I think that was it.
Is that what you're keeping track of too, Joe?
That is tracking with what I've got here, yes. I'll get you a revised version tomorrow, Dana.
Thank you.
I got mediocre notes.
Joe, I have a question. Based on, we had a public hearing, we've obviously gotten a lot of input. Are we okay in terms of our commitment to the hearing notice?
Yes.
To, if somebody wants to make a motion to incorporate the things that we've agreed to, that we could in fact make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees?
Yes, you can make a recommendation as
As amended. Yeah,
revised
as
tonight.
revised.
Yeah, you haven't done anything that goes outside the bounds of looking at the issues that were described in the notice, so I think you're fine.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion on this to move us forward. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we can discuss if there's anything I missed. I'm going to make a motion to recommend approval to the board, amendment to section 161-5.1 of the Bruce Township ordinance related to accessory building sizes, to reset the allowable square footage based on the table that is Exhibit 5.1.A.11, with the amendment that over 10 acres would have a limit of 5,200 square feet, with the additional revisions of adding in a limitation of allowable lean-tos, porches, overhangs, and covered areas of 10 feet to the sides, with the ability to extend that beyond, with that extended area coming out of the total allowable square footage, along with a revision to set the maximum sidewall height on structures less than 3,000 square feet to 14 feet, and on structures greater than 3,000 square feet to 16 feet maximum sidewall.
It's less than 3,000 or 3,001.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Joe's got that.
okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. And then, Chair, excuse me for interrupting, but just to clarify, what your motion is that 10-foot overhangs are allowed, and then for over 10-foot overhangs, those square footages are considered principal structure square footage.
Yes,
Okay.
essentially, yes.
Accessory building square footage, yeah. Yeah, that's how I understood what he said.
Accessory.
Accessory structure square footage.
Yes.
Yeah, accessory
Correct.
structure.
Accessory structure is not
exceeds.
principal, yeah.
Not principal structure. Okay.
All right, that's the motion. Is there a second?
Support?
Support by Commissioner Hale. Any discussion?
Was there a discussion of raising it to 16 feet all the way across the board because of the 14-foot garage door?
I believe Mr. Hale addressed that.
Yeah, I think he addressed that.
You can post it up in the center.
Oh, okay.
If
Who
it's
seconded
absolutely
that?
required.
Andrew did. All right, Dana, would you call the roll, please?
Hale.
Yes.
Higglestein.
Yes.
Cant.
Yes.
Barnett.
Yes.
D. Vinson.
Yes.
Boyce.
Yes.
J. Vinson.
Yes. All right, motion carries. And that will go to the board in 2 weeks.
Okay, good job.
All right, thank you, everybody. Got through that one. Item 8A is the preliminary site plan approval for Spria Meadows. I said that right?
Can you say that name? Is it Aspria?
Yes. I gotta take a quick look.
Aspria. Everyone's been saying it differently, so it's Aspria.
Aspria, okay.
Got to pick a name that people can pronounce, I guess, right? Or that draws interest. It's good advertising. No, Yeah. You want me to start? Mr. Hagelston left, but
Oh.
he's probably, you want me to just go ahead and start?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine. Let's
sure.
go ahead and start.
Again, my name is Pete Snyder from Urban Land Consultants at 8800 23 Mile Road, Shelby Township, Michigan, representing the applicant Magnum Group, Mark Jeswali and Jim Polyzois. The Magnum Group owners are also in the audience with me tonight if you have any questions for them specifically. The site plan, of course, it's preliminary site plan. It would be that we're presenting tonight. It's basically the piece of property at the very end of Mellon Street, right at the end. If you were to drive in, there's a single-family residence there and a turnaround that's actually a driveway. Although Google Maps thinks it's part of Mellon Street, it's not. There is no right-of-way there. And the parcel is roughly 13 3/4 acres, of which like about 10 1/2 is free and clear, meaning unencumbered by the floodplain of the wetlands where the East Pond Creek comes through. This is actually a piece of property we have been drawing concept plans on since 1986, back when George Adams actually owned it. So it's finally made it to the stage of being submitted under the current owners. Again, 14 units. I've reviewed, received and reviewed the preliminary comments. I think the only comment of substance there is the issue about the road easement right-of-way. Again, everything else is pretty standard, pretty vanilla. This road easement, first of all, it's connecting to Mellon, which doesn't have 60 feet to begin with. Mellon Street in that area is only 49 and a half feet wide. And the second sort of point to that is this was modeled exactly after Bruce Orchards, which is, again, an R1B development, similar to this that you guys wrestled with for a while with Lombardo. So we used the exact same standard for development on this site plan that was applied to Bruce Orchards, intending to progress with site plan and engineering very parallel with that. This parcel, again, they haven't asked for a rezoning. Again, in Bruce Township, I tend to recommend my clients avoid a rezoning unless they absolutely are adamant about it. But this parcel is owned by, it's bordered by Mobile Home Park on the west. It's got Mobile Home Park on the north. It's got industrial on the east. The only R1B that it touches is Greenland Sub to the south. So again, most of our old historic feasibility sketches contemplate a zoning to some sort of multifamily or some sort of R1C. I figured maybe we could just skip the whole rezoning rigmarole, get straight to a site plan that might be acceptable based on the model that Bruce Orchards set for us, and presented a site plan like that. So with that, certainly if you have any questions or if there are other comments on the review you want me to address, just let me know. Okay? With that,
Thanks, Pete.
I have a quick question, if I may, Garrett.
Sure.
You're going to take down the old house, right?
yes.
Thank you. Just didn't want to make sure it wasn't stuck in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's smack dab underneath the proposed road.
Okay.
All right, Joe, you want to walk us through your review?
Sure. And I will address the right-of-way that
Yeah, please.
Pete did, but I just wanted to give a quick little overview to, so 14-lot residential site condo on 13.74 acres. The lots range in size from 20,000 square feet to 28,886.1 square feet. 20,000 is the minimum lot size for the district. There's a couple of private roads proposed here, Asprey Court and Lepanto Court, and they go to two different cul-de-sacs. There is a house on site right now, as was just noted. Variety of surrounding zoning, it's kind of different in every direction. You've got MHP Mobile Home Park to the north and west, and there is a mobile home park, which is primarily to the west. To the south is R1B. There is a single-family home subdivision to the south. And then to the east is actually LI1 Light Industrial. They are meeting the minimum lot width, which is 100 feet on all the lots. They have a detention pond, and that's actually accessed from the cul-de-sac at the end of Asprey Court directly. That's one of the general common elements of the condominium, along with the road and a large area on the northeast side that's been put aside. There are some wetlands, a floodplain, and a water course that run through that northwestern portion of the site. So those have been left out of any of the lots. They are showing a continuous sidewalk throughout the development. Because of the 30-foot private road easement rather than a 60, that sidewalk actually falls outside of the road easement. So a couple things about that road easement. It's the township board that actually has the ability to grant variances from the standards of the subdivision ordinance. And that is actually how that was done with the other development that was referred to earlier. So if you were inclined to grant preliminary approval tonight, it would have to be subject to the township board granting that easement. If that easement is granted, you would be looking for easements on either side of the road easement to cover those sidewalks to make sure that no one can just take it out in the future and not put it back. You want to have something that's going to control that in the future. So what I would expect to see is additional 15-foot easements on either side of that road that are specific to that sidewalk and any shared infrastructure, stormwater, that kind of thing, rather than just the private road easement with then the sidewalks on the private property. I would want to see an easement that basically says, if you do something to this sidewalk in the future, you have to replace or repair it. Otherwise, I did not have many notes of substance. They are not taking out more than 50% of the trees, so our tree removal standard doesn't apply. They do have a landscape plan. They are actually doing a fair amount of screening to the west, and then they're leaving in a row of trees along the property line to the south as well. I think any screening that they're leaving in place to the east is actually for their own benefit, really, because there is industrial property over there. There wouldn't be any required. They're leaving a large area undeveloped over there as a buffer from those other uses, and also there's a water course there, so you can't really build in that part of the property. Are there any questions for me?
Did I understand you correctly that the commission here, they do the preliminary site plan, doesn't go to the board? But I think you said that the issue of accommodating the 15 feet on each side, we would have to recommend to the board that they grant that.
Yeah, what I would say is it would be a condition of preliminary approval that they receive a variance from the board. It's their volition to then approach the board and request that variance. You do not have to make a recommendation.
Okay, so it'd just be conditional, and then that's something the board, just so education, the board can grant that variance because it's not the zoning ordinance, it's the subdivision
Exactly,
ordinance.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, the board is specifically called out as the variance granting entity in that ordinance.
Okay, and as I recall, since I made the motion on Bruce Orchards, I think that's exactly what we did there.
Yes.
Okay, and it's all premised on the idea of the sidewalks. And, that, what I'm trying to say is that we're adding the 15 feet on each side, so we end up in the same place?
Exactly. You end up in the same place, basically. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that it was run by the fire department, and they had no objection.
So am I correct in understanding, Joe, that allowance of the 30-foot right-of-way results in the homes being 15 feet closer?
They would be 15 feet closer to the road, or could be 15
Okay.
feet closer to the road, because you're measuring the setback from a different place. You're measuring it closer to the edge of the pavement.
Is there going to be a lot depth issue on this one?
No, not on this one.
Okay.
Some perceptive comments and questions.
So if we allocate right-of-way to the sidewalk, some of those lots are exactly 20,000, that right-of-way impacts that 20,000 square feet, correct?
Just easements.
It's just easements
Just
in
an
this
easement.
case, yeah.
Okay.
If you were to expand the right-of-way, you'd be running into some different issues, but if you have a separate easement that covers that sidewalk on each side, then it can be handled differently.
Got it.
Okay. Any other questions for Joe? And/or the applicant?
Question for Pete.
Yeah.
Reason for requesting the right-of-way reduction?
Like a straight-up reason?
Yes.
Because we're connecting to a road that doesn't have 60 to begin with, is sort of the main one. It's a non-standard road. Based on where the center line of the road is, where it connects to Mellon, that center line's only, it's like 20 feet off the property line. So to try to center a 60-foot road in that, like, we need another 40 feet from the mobile home park to even line up our center lines. That's really the biggest one. This layout just, when we put it together and we applied the Bruce Orchard standards to it, this layout just kind of worked out very nicely. And it's like, look, let's go with it. So that's bottom line. We're connecting to a non-standard, albeit public, but very non-standard road to begin with. And we had that really good example from Bruce Orchards to follow. And this particular layout just laid out very, very nicely. So
Thank you.
that's the reasoning. And obviously, part of how that came about with Bruce Orchards, as you very well know, came about through a lot of rezoning discussions. And I just, again, I'm not as I've been public with, I don't recommend my clients come into Bruce Township asking for a rezoning. They could have. I told them, hey, steer away from that if you can. Let's just go straight to a site plan that hopefully everybody can agree to and avoid all of the rezoning rigmarole,
Thank you.
please. So,
Okay. Any other commissioners with comments or questions? And if not, is there a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to recommend preliminary site plan approval for parcel 14-01-26-300-028 and per content in Joe Tangary's July 29th, 26 memo. And also, this is the whole thing a recommendation to
It's just
the
a
board?
motion to
No.
approve.
This is just a motion to approve, and then the condition is that the board must grant the
Okay.
variance in order for this to go
Okay,
through.
so as a condition, the board must approve the sidewalk right away
Right of way with variance, yeah.
with variance. Got it, Dana?
Yep.
Should we say 15 feet on either side? Specifically?
You can be specific about that, yes.
Yeah.
Will that affect the entrance?
no, because we had to omit the sidewalk on that side of the street right there where it connects to Mellon anyway, because, again, that would be trespassing onto the mobile home park. But on the other side, yes, the sidewalk continues down all the way to Mellon. It's on our site plan. And just to FYI, the easement on Bruce Orchard's actually wider than, it's 15 for sidewalk, but it's actually wider because there's public utilities there, so really there's like 25 feet there, once you add in Detroit Edison and some other things.
So are we talking about a right-of-way or easement, or are they the same
So it's
thing?
it's a,
Easement.
Easement,
yeah,
not
it's
a
a
right-of-way.
30-foot roadway easement with
Okay.
15-foot sidewalk easements on either side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right-of-way removes the land. An easement does
So
not.
it's an easement variance then?
Yeah,
correct?
the board is going to approve an easement, as I understand it, not a right-of-way.
You could say a minimum of 15 feet on each side.
Okay.
That way, if they choose to
So-
expand that for utility purposes, they can.
And that's described as a right-of-way variance?
No.
No, an easement.
Easement.
Easement on both sides of the reduced right-of-way, if approved by the board.
Okay. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote what he
If you
said.
don't, I'm going to ask Andrew to repeat it, because I'm not going to take and put another layer and make errors here. So,
Rick,
Well, I-
what?
oh, sorry, do you want to add to the motion also conditioned on the various things in the engineer's report being addressed? We typically do that.
That wouldn't get engineering approval.
Yeah, I would agree with that, so.
No objections.
Subject to engineering approval.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be going to engineering next.
Simpler way of putting it, right?
They'll go to engineering, and once they've got engineering, they'll come back to us for final.
Okay. Thank you for everyone for your input.
All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Hagelstein. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Cant. Any other discussion? Dana, would you call the roll, please?
Hagelstein,
Yes.
Cant,
Yes.
Barnett,
Yes.
D. Vinson,
Yes.
J. Vinson.
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Boyce.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That one went well. That takes us to item 8B, final site plan for Rosemary Estates.
Turn of the cat.
Pete Snyder back for round two. This one I think you've seen before, and you're probably familiar with the Rosemary Estates. Again, he had a preliminary site condo approval some months ago. It's been through the engineering process. There's, and it's winding down, getting closer and closer to construction. One specific change that of note, it doesn't affect how the project looks, but when the final soils work came back for septic fields, there were 6 of what were proposed units that had a high enough water table that it didn't meet the official state rules for septic fields. So those are elevated fields, technically an engineered field. So those units were converted to parcel splits within the development. This is similar to, again, this has happened on a variety of projects in Bruce Township because the soils they're not uniformly good or uniformly bad. Sometimes they're some good and some bad. So the splits are available. It's not an issue of whether or not the splits are there. Once you build the road, they have frontage and access. It's more of a legal issue because then you need an umbrella document that ties deed restrictions on 6 splits to the rest of the site condo. Again, it has more to do with the sort of the legal and ownership structure than anything. Like if you drove through the subdivision, you couldn't tell. But some people will technically own a parcel split with deed restrictions tied to participation with a site condo, and other people will own a site condo unit directly tied to that same site condo. So that's how that works when from a legal standpoint. So on the request for master deed on this one, it really the township should be requesting the master deed, the deed restrictions, and the umbrella document. All 3 of those things, which are, again, I don't believe they were submitted, but they're all in the works. And of course, my client knows they're needed. We've done this before. So, and I forgot to introduce Mike DeMille and Karen, his wife. They are in the audience, obviously, with me. So, sorry, Mike, I didn't. I just got straight to business. So, another issue that has come up that has haunted this property for quite some time is an environmental issue. It was part of a larger parcel that had contamination by the road commission out on M53. They handed, Mike just literally at 4:16 this afternoon, got an email from the Eagle representative that they have fixed the Eagle ride mapper to show the actual site of contamination to be the correct parcel, meaning the 31 acres out next to Van Dyke, rather than the whole big thing. Again, this literally just happened this afternoon. So we knew it was going to. We had the reports. He's done an awful lot of geotechnical exploration, had the experts out there testing everything for everything and not found anything except high naturally occurring arsenic, which is pretty common in our area. I know, I live in Washington Township, and it's naturally elevated even in my house, in my well. It's pretty normal. Don't like it, but it's normal. So that addresses the contamination issue. Obviously, you haven't seen it. I didn't see it until I walked in. So we very much expect to provide that to you tomorrow morning. Hopefully, I can take a screenshot of the ride map and forward that as well. But I think that issue is finally put to bed. So again, it was an issue that goes back many decades. This particular development parcel was one part of a much larger parcel that was owned by the road commission, and they dumped on part of it, and the rest of it was always, ag, farm fields. So the applicant at this point has done all of the testing, the reports. I think at least one of the reports ended up submitted with this, but Eagle finally accepted it literally today. So I don't think there's any other questions. I know we didn't show individual trees on some of the lots. There's some other sort of cleanup issues on the site plan. And on a drawing of this scale where it's, the trees end up little dots, so we just include a note that satisfies the township requirement rather than actually showing them dotted along the road. It really doesn't matter to me. That's a drafting thing. Hopefully we can make it legible enough so that people can actually spot where the trees might go. But there is a note stating the township requirement for tree plantings. It's just not, they're just not individually drawn. And I think there were a couple other relatively minor things in that. Of course, some more fundamental things like seeing the legal work as well, getting that submitted so your township attorney can start reviewing the master deed as well. So,
Did you say that's already been presented?
what's that?
The master deed?
No, the township has, it's not just the master deed, it's a master
Right.
deed, the umbrella document, and the deed restrictions as a
Yep.
package. They've all got to go to your township attorney and get reviewed as a package. No, they've not been submitted yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I keep asking questions? I should have asked to the end.
Yeah, sure.
Did you get the test results on the test wells?
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you at least reviewed the
It's been in the
geotech.
engineering package,
Okay.
but it hasn't been in.
We didn't see it.
Oh, okay, so it was submitted to the township, but you guys didn't get, there was a geotechnical report that G2 did that, of course, is what part of what Eagle was relying on to fix the ride map. If you want a copy of that, it's not confidential or anything, we can make sure that it comes to, I can get a copy to Dana and she can
Yeah,
distribute
I
it.
just found it curious that we didn't see anything on that.
Yeah, I guess, I didn't know that it wasn't submitted with the final site plan, but yes, we can make sure that we get you a copy.
Yeah, my letter calls out a few pieces of required information that I've seen on the engineering plans, but were not included in the package for the planning commission for whatever reason. So I know they exist. They were not in your packet.
Okay. Any other questions for Pete before we turn it to Joe? All right, Joe.
Okay. Right, so this is a final condo, a request for final condo approval. As far as the layout of the site, I found the layout to be substantially similar to what was approved at preliminary. There were a couple of lots where some very minor dimensions changed, but not in a way that affects their compliance. So from that standpoint, I have no, real comments. There is a little bit of technical cleanup. There's a typical lot illustration that has to be updated. All the lots themselves are correct. The split element has been addressed. They were going to pay into the sidewalk fund per the preliminary approval. And he addressed the street trees, so those will have to be shown, and they can be shown somewhat conceptually. If you wind up putting the driveway in a different spot and it's got to move, that's fine, but we definitely want to see that they're at least acknowledging that each lot is going to need one. As noted, at final approval, we do have some required information. I did see that on the plans that were submitted to engineering for engineering review, so I know all of that information has been provided. It was not included in what was submitted for the Planning Commission. And the only other thing that I had, and I guess I'd like you to address this one, Pete, is that as of this writing, when I wrote this memo, I didn't see that that engineering approval had been granted, which is usually what we're looking for before it comes back for final. Has that changed in the meantime?
No, because engineering was hesitating to approve it for the very same reason that y'all were, meaning they hadn't seen proof from Eagle that the ride map and the contamination issue had been resolved either. So now that we have that, we'll get that back to the township engineer. I think there were a couple other things the township engineer was also asking for, but I do expect that engineering approval has been delayed considerably, in part due to these issues. So we'll secure engineering approval here quite shortly. So I don't know if the Planning Commission is empowered to, approve contingent on receiving engineering approval. Everybody knows we got to get it before we can build anything. And I don't expect to have your township board act on it until it's firmly in place either. I mean, I think if we brought it to them if we brought it to your board before full engineering was approved, that, yeah, we might not expect a positive vote.
Yeah, David would say no.
Yeah. But yeah, it is, we are very, very, very close.
So, Joe, we could, since we're only recommending in this case, since it's a final, we could recommend contingent on the final engineering approval be secured before the board makes their decision?
Prior to board action, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
And your options are postpone until engineering approval, or make that motion that you just said.
And then does the assessor, I'm actually looking back at your final on, I think, Pond Creek. Do we want the assessor to give some sort of confirmation in writing with respect that the splits are verified and are available?
I think that would be helpful for the board before granting final approval, yes.
It's not like it should take very long.
Yeah, and I think it's even looked at during the engineering review, but yeah, that's a pretty simple ask.
Okay. Any other questions for Joe? And then I guess the question is, do we feel comfortable moving forward without these things and make a motion conditionally? Or would that need to be postponed until we have them? Nobody?
I personally don't like not having final engineer approval for final recommendation of anything. But then I'm one person.
So you'd be in favor of postponing?
Yes. I mean, he appears to have answered the question of what the problem was, but I don't know that that's the only problem that the engineering review had.
I do know that they did have a shortage.
Yep.
I do know that the engineering firm did have a shortage of personnel to get the project. And you know that too, that they didn't have enough personnel to get the project approved or get it through the process fast enough. And we were behind, I think, 3 months kind of waiting. As a matter of fact, I think you guys took 2 or 3 projects away from that engineer because they couldn't get to the work fast enough. I guess I'm imploring you, please give us the opportunity. We can't go anywhere. We can't do anything without final approval, and we know we need all this stuff, but we have worked very, very hard, including this issue with Eagle, and please consider it. Thank you.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we did postpone it until next month, let's say, they likely wouldn't get all the things that they need in time for the next board meeting, so it wouldn't really be putting them behind, right?
It depends how fast it is. I mean, they could get everything within a week. We just don't know.
But can they submit it that soon for don't we have,
So the cutoff for the board would be 1 week from today.
oh, it's just one week?
Correct. So then they have to have it a week ahead of time.
Oh. Do you anticipate
Can it be- all be
clearing
done in a
everything up
week?
in the next week?
It's very possible with, with the contamination issue straightened out. And,
What about the master deed and all of that?
yeah, it's being prepared, yes. Yeah, again, this is very similar to, Pond Creek Estates. It's essentially an identical situation with different names. So
I believe
it easily could be. Yeah, the engineering review times on this project have been significantly longer than any engineering review times that I've ever experienced. And it's disheartening because I like doing work in Bruce Township, but we've had situations where it's 3.5, or 4 months for a single engineering review, and that really puts people behind. So, and I'd hate to have a situation where we fixed a ride mapper, and then it's 2.5, 3 weeks before a township engineer even looks at it. It's very frustrating, but
But you can hear the frustration from us not having the information.
I 100% get it. I understand. If I were sitting in your shoes, I'd be perhaps just as skeptical. I understand. But you've heard, and again, you've heard the developer, you've heard what I've had to say, so you can think about it, decide, I guess.
So if we were to conditionally approve and the information was not submitted within the week timeframe, then it would wait for the next board meeting? Is that how that would work?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Look at it now.
So would that be labeled as a conditional postponement? Is there such a thing?
Oh, yeah.
We approve it, we approve it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it just wouldn't be on the next, it would wait a meeting. I don't know how that would get classified, if it would even have I don't know.
Yeah, David, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I can't imagine the board would do anything without the engineering review,
Right.
Without all the documentation in
Right,
place.
so I guess at that point, I mean, it doesn't proceed to the board, it comes back, or gives him
If we approve it, would it come back here next meeting if it wasn't? Or there'd be no reason for it to come
no,
back?
no.
Right.
Right.
Would you guys just postpone it at that time?
We
It wouldn't
even
end
have-
up on our agenda.
Right.
If all the stuff isn't in place, it won't end up.
Right.
I can tell you, we wouldn't even submit for the board agenda if we didn't have it. We're here, obviously, we know it's required. We wouldn't even submit to our board agenda without it.
Yeah. I mean, I have no issues with the project as a whole. It's just,
Pete, can you refresh, did you have a time frame on getting the master deed?
No, I haven't coordinated with the attorney about that, but
Yeah.
again, I know that it's very straightforward because they have a very good example.
And I'm meaning the other stuff to go along with it, too.
Again, I just didn't coordinate with the attorney beforehand. It could have been ready even, it could be ready already, and it just didn't make it into the submission
Yeah.
package.
It's interesting, because again, looking back on the Pond Creek motion, that meeting was on January 2nd, 2021, and the PC said, as a contingency, the master deed will be in final format acceptable to the township attorney no later than the close of business on June the 9th. So that's telling me that before the board approved the final site plan, that they had the attorney's, approval of the master deed.
Yeah.
So in this case, it would be, in addition to the engineering approval, we'd also need the attorney's approval of the master deed.
All three documents. All three
Right.
documents.
Yes, the
Yeah, it's all
master
three.
deed, the easement, and,
Yeah.
Review all three.
Although I must say that your township attorney is usually stellar with that kind of stuff. I like dealing with them.
Christine is great.
Yeah, and Christine Anderson is great.
right.
So,
And I don't think it's a big
Let's-
deal to get the assessor's affirmation on the splits.
Should be.
Yeah.
Just so I understand, so we're saying that if this got conditionally approved and you didn't make the deadline for the board next week, it would just go to the board the following month? Doesn't need to come back here?
Correct.
Right.
It
That
just
would-
would go to the board the following month?
Yeah, what that would do is that would allow us to go to the board without physically presenting ourselves
Right.
here
Okay.
again for another meeting. That's all.
All right.
All right, anybody like to make a motion?
I'm taxed out.
Your text out?
Yeah.
Is that enough?
I'm sorry.
Fair enough. All right, I don't like it, but I will make a motion, trying to help you guys out here, but I think in the future, we'd like to see these a little more complete before they come before us. But I would make a recommendation to the board for a final site condo review for parcel ID 14-01-22-100-034. As a conditional approval, subject to the following. The deed restrictions, master deed, and umbrella document are submitted and reviewed by the township attorney to a satisfactory state. Subject to paying into the sidewalk fund, I think we already covered that. Subject to confirmation by the assessing department that the splits are available. And the subject to satisfactory completion of any outstanding engineering review comments.
You could add my letter to that too, because there were a couple little things, like the street trees.
Okay, as well as the satisfactory completion of the items identified by Joe Tangari's final plan review.
Do we need to add that we need to confirm that the ride map was updated from Eagle?
Yeah, that.
Yes, thank you.
That, yes.
And also conditional upon the confirmation of the Eagle sign-off on contaminations not being found present on the parcel.
Glad Commissioner Barnett remembered the most important thing.
Do you want to add that they actually get final engineering approval?
I thought I kind of covered that in the satisfactory completion of the engineering document, but I'm happy to
Well-
update.
Does that include the approval?
Fair. So we'll reword that engineering piece, Dana, to include approval of the final engineering sign-off. Anything else?
I'll second the motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Jay Vincent, seconded by Commissioner Boyce. Any other discussion? Dana, would you call the roll, please?
Hagelstein,
Yes.
Cant,
Yes.
Boyce,
Yes.
Jay Vincent,
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Barnett,
Yes.
D. Vincent.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated.
We take a break.
Yes, all right, Commissioners, 7:55, let's take a 5-minute break. So we are going to adjourn at 7:55. We're back in 5 minutes.
Are we recording?
Yes, we are.
YouTube's
good. All right, we're back in session at 8:02 PM. That wraps up 8B, final site plan for Rosemary Estates. That takes us to item 9, communications. Don't believe there are any that, hearing none. We're going to move on to unfinished business. Item 10, 10A is our master plan discussion.
Right. So the master plan has taken a little bit of a back seat over the last few months as we've dealt with various other things. A wide variety of other things, I guess you could say. But we do want to get that over the finish line here. So a couple of things were included in your packet. And these are kind of to refresh everybody's memory here. We have sort of the opening chapters of the update document, which go through sort of the demographic background and a few other bits of introductory content. And we reviewed that content last year. Obviously, one of you wasn't on the board when that happened, but we have gone through that as a group. We also have the results of the survey in here, and that was, again, from last year. Another thing that is in here are some tables talking about, what's currently planned for commercial industrial uses, what would be planned for commercial industrial uses based on the changes that we've made to the map, and then what's currently zoned for commercial and industrial uses, so you can compare all those acreages. And then finally, a map showing what is changing on the future land use map. So you can see what has been outlined here in purple. And that just reflects, what we've agreed as a group needs to change. Some of these things, really are related to things that have happened in the meantime since the last master plan. For instance, on Van Dyke, there is a piece of land that was once planned for office, but it never lost its residential zoning, and it's since been approved for a site condominium, so that's being changed to residential on the future land use map.
Royalton Pines?
Is Royalton Pines, yeah. We've got a couple of areas on here too along M53 that are identified as potential industrial expansion areas. So the future land use category isn't just industrial. It's more of a transitional category that basically says if we get to a point of industrial build out, this is where we're looking for the expansion of that district to occur. And then finally, I guess I just wanted to point all the way up to the northern end of M53, where we have received a fair amount of correspondence from the property owner up there about the future of that property. And right now we have an office designation up there. It sort of builds off of the old hospital property, which has never actually been zoned for office. It's always had the suburban residential zoning, but the designation we have on that whole kind of triangle right now is office. We have discussed a fair number of different things for that property. Initially, the property owner came in asking if we could make his property, the one right on the corner there, commercial. And that's what kicked off all that discussion to begin with, other than the actual fact that there's a hospital in the area, or a medical facility, not really a full-blown hospital. So that's one that, just given the fact that he's continued to correspond with us, we probably ought to verify whether or not we're sticking with the direction that we've got on the map. And if there are other questions, we can certainly talk through them now, and then otherwise, we need to talk about kind of our next steps, which would be the open house.
Joe, my memory of, and this would have been, I think, in December of last year on that far northern property, I thought that we were going to present a couple of options at the open house.
Right.
Either the entire acreage being future planned for office, or half of it being future planned, let's just call it the portion near Van Dyke.
Yeah, we had talked about that, and then I think a commercial designation was in the mix there too, as long as we were asking people to respond to things. And that's partly based on the fact that Almont has commercial zoning across Boardman. And that commercial was always going to be a portion too. It was going to mirror the portion of the property that was office.
Emery, your question was, would just some portion facing the road, but not the whole parcel be office, something, is that what you're
I
asking?
think we had talked, the first, it was actually, I think, in November of last year, we first wound up with, I want to say 17 acres of office. And then in December, it was actually, I think as a result of some data I brought in, which would demonstrate that you could put a massive amount of office on there, or for that matter, a massive amount of commercial compared to, I mean, you could put the whole Kroger shopping center in there. It would be very, very large.
Not really.
Huh?
Septic field would just never allow it, but I understand where you're going.
Right.
It's all very hemmed by the fact that there's not going to be sewer there for,
Well,
There is sewer now.
is there at the corner all the way out there for the?
It goes
The
down.
hospital does sewer to
Environmental
Elma.
agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a 4-inch.
It's not big enough.
Is it for
Yes.
all that land? Or is it only for the hospital?
I don't know.
I think the agreement is with the hospital.
is.
Yeah, I don't,
With the pipe there, I suppose you could,
you'd have to amend the agreement.
yeah, you have the potential to amend the agreement with the hospital
Now,
there.
honestly, though, Sheena's is, they're not on sewer over there, are they?
They should be, aren't they? Isn't that why the sewer runs up Mellon? Isn't that part of Mr. Holworth?
I think they are because the trailer park is on sewer. Remember they had high water issues over there?
Yeah, I think that's why it goes up Mellon. That's, I mean, I didn't know that hospital had sewer, my fault. I mean, interlocal agreements are pretty rare now.
Hospital's been there a
Especially
long
crossing a
time.
county line. Oh,
Yeah,
no, I get
since
it.
the
I thought it was on
50s.
septic.
Yeah.
I truly did.
But to Emery's point, I think if the whole thing was,
Whatever it's going
Whatever,
to end
it
up.
could be.
It's a very, very big
Yeah.
change.
It's a lot of office.
There'd be a lot of commercial, too.
It's true.
Yeah.
So that was the point in
yeah, and I-
coming up with some options that we could
so the
show.
potential is like some setback, they're not setback, but some amount of depth from the road.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a buffer of property that doesn't get the new designation to the east.
Gotcha.
So as I recall, that office designation was a question that I had asked about, is it easier to maybe get to commercial if someone brings us a valid plan? In the end, I thought our discussion settled on, it didn't make sense to make that office because aren't going to use the office space we have now. So there
Yeah.
was little sense in creating office space up there.
That was part of the discussion, and I think we kind of didn't fully resolve where
Okay.
we were going to
Yeah.
land on this property, which is why it's probably the one property that we're really going to home in on and present options for.
I think right, with that in mind, what David said, I also said that, to my knowledge, we have never designated something on a future land use plan to facilitate development at a specific owner's request. I mean, it's, because there's nothing stopping from any owner from just coming in and asking for a rezoning. It's very simple, let it stand on its own merits. But I really thought what we wanted to ascertain is what is the public's input on this particular thing
Yeah,
before we make a final decision.
right, exactly.
Knowing, such as something like David just said, it's a big piece of property. And, you know, we've already got the office designation right to the south on the old Henry Ford property.
Right, so I guess the thing that I would suggest is, we do need to be thinking about this open house, which at this point seems like it's going to be sometime in the fall. My thought is, for the September meeting, I can prepare what I think are the materials that would be presented at this open house for you to then comment on and give me your feedback. Whether or not you think something else needs to be presented, there's something you don't want to present. And we kind of settle on it in September, and then we set the event up for October.
Is there any reason that we couldn't set the date now so there's more advance notice to people?
I mean, I don't think so. I think we could, if we're picking a date in October, we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves turnaround time from the September meeting, but otherwise, I mean, we do meet early in the month. But,
Are we prepared? I mean, you feel like confident that we could say the October meeting?
by October, absolutely.
Well,
You're not saying the October meeting, you're saying in October, but it
In
would be separate
October, I
from the
mean,
plan.
it could be toward the end of the month,
Okay.
but at least I'm just thinking, at least we can get the information out there. For instance, when the last town halls were on the police millage, possibility, and that was 2 months' notice that we had on that. I think you guys decided in February that we were going to have town halls because it looked like it was possibly going to go on the ballot. And then there was a town hall in May.
For the police millage?
Yes.
Something
And-
like that.
Yep. And then there was also one slated for July.
Right.
That didn't end up happening because you guys
Pulled it.
changed
Yeah,
course.
right.
Yeah, in June.
So I mean, there are 4 Wednesdays in October. The 7th is our regular meeting. The 21st is the regular board meeting. So that leaves you with the 14th and the 28th.
Does it have to be on a Wednesday?
From a scheduling standpoint, from my perspective, it would be useful to have it on a Wednesday.
Got it.
So the 14th and the 28th would be the 2 options.
Is there a risk that, based on whatever we talk about in the September meeting, that could change something to the point where we were not ready?
I mean, I'd be asking to take what we've already talked about, put it in some sort of presentation format for the public, and having you respond to that and telling me if you wanted changes to it.
Okay.
I don't think that we would be in a situation where something would change so dramatically with the substance of what we're presenting that that we'd be in a position where we might have to push things back, especially if we sit on the 28th.
Okay.
The 28th, of course, is the week before your November meeting, too.
So after, just to kind of get ahead of it, we have the town hall, we take input, then we as a commission, assuming at our next meeting, would discuss what input we got, if any, at the town hall.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So are we leaning towards the 28th as our target date?
I think that makes sense as a target date.
I know you
Oh,
may not be here.
probably not.
Everybody else good with that? All right, so I think the other question then that I would like to get some, and I don't want to extend this too long, but if we generally believe that we don't need more office space, and I know we're planning to go into that meeting with some options, but I don't think we should go in there presenting it as office if we don't think that's what we need.
Can't we just go back to residential use and have it be non-conforming where the hospital is?
Well,
Well, it already is.
I mean, that was always I'm not a fan of going in the direction of commercial there. I know other people have different points of view on that. It would be a market change, since our current master plan specifically states there's no plan to do anything other than what we know we'll have to do at some point for Henry Ford. And if the decision is to change that, it is, but
I guess-
it's a big leap.
Yeah, I guess for me, I would want to know what it's outside the scope of this, I guess, but I would want to know what the capacity and the involvement is in that sewer line and how much usable space there is for even developing that area. You know, is there even the capacity to do something large and commercial there? Or is it only sufficient for that hospital? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you
I
could
don't
also
know.
do something small and commercial there too, just by breaking off the corner or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that's is there capacity there to even zone that whole corner, that triangle like that?
On the other hand, we have other commercial property along Van Dyke, one of which, I believe, the one near Ebling, could be developed as commercial now, and there's much smaller parcels. And I think we're going to look at that as, in the future, as
Going
residential.
back to residential on our.
And then we have another, I think I want to say it's 6.5 acres at 30 southwest corner of 36 in Van Dyke.
I think it's 4 acres. 4 acres.
4.
Yeah.
And that is actually commercial as a result of a
Consent judgment.
consent judgment.
Yep.
I guess the other thing that weighs on my mind in terms of that is, this was specific when we last talked about this, is that with what we have on the map right now in terms of existing commercial, existing vacant commercial, and a few future plan, Joe said, we are more than covered for 20 years, which is our going, look forward on the master plan. We're more than covered for our commercial need.
Okay.
And again, that's premised on the fact, longstanding and reiterated in the survey, that people expect to drive to get something.
Yeah, also premised on, the rate of growth not, vastly exploding or something like
Right.
that too.
Okay, so, again, I know we're going to present some options, but are we going to leave this as office, kind of going into that meeting, or do we want to designate it something else?
Well, I think I'll come up with what to present and you can respond to that in September.
Okay, fair enough.
We can finalize it in September based on the format that I give you, and you can say, all right, we're comfortable showing these 3 options, kill these 2.
Perfect.
And how do we let the community know about the town hall?
You're going to need to use all your various communication channels to your residents. I mean,
Well, I don't know, the last time you and I and somebody else, I think, we got together with,
Frank was,
Frank was there, because he had knowledge about getting stuff out.
Well, the bills were going out.
That
I think
was
there was
it.
a tax notice or something
Right.
going out that they included.
Right.
Which I think
Whatever
worked
we
against-
decided, even if it was separate, he does have the contact, I think, with that
Yes.
vendor to give us a quote.
I mean, your next
And
tax
every
bill's not till
quarter,
December.
we have 4
We
pages
found that a lot of
in
people didn't look at the
a
notice
publication
because-
that comes out.
do you know mortgage bills and tax bills, and so we just.
I don't offhand, but
disregarded it.
there'll be at least
So I
one
don't think
before
that worked out
that.
the way that we intended.
So
That would be a
yeah,
help.
there's 4 pages, so
Well, it makes
Mike
sense.
usually writes something, Frank writes something, Susan writes something
Right.
normally. Do you know the schedule of the publication that we
The
participate in?
newsletter?
Oh, one source?
Yeah, one source.
One source.
Do you know the schedule?
Oh, I don't, I think it's like almost right now. I think they were just submitting for some things. Like how soon would we be ready to do that? If it, like,
Well,
I
we've
think that,
picked a day already for the town hall, the 28th of October. If
We have to
that-
make sure the
that could
room's
be in there.
available.
I'll check and make
Is
sure
it
that.
here? Is it here in this room? Is it at 6 o'clock?
Yeah, it's called One Source.
Details.
In fact, it might be over on the
What's the
counter.
frequency of publication?
Quarterly?
4 times a year, yeah.
Yeah.
It's every 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if it's coming out soon and it's quarterly, then we,
This one's June, July, August.
Oh, so you're right, it would be any time.
Yeah.
okay, so then,
But we might be able to make something in there.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I know Mike was just putting something in there today. He was working on it. So if we did it quickly, if we say the 28th, and then maybe we got together with,
The little group and come out, see what else we want to do.
yeah,
Yeah,
something.
we could just allocate even a half a page to it.
Yeah,
You know, just something big that says there's a town hall meeting, something that's eye-catching. I think they do all the layout. The guys just write the articles, and I think the publication takes care of the rest of it.
well, I know with the last thing we did, Mandy, you did
Yeah, I designed everything.
designed it
Yeah.
little
Do we
fancy.
know if this room is even available on the 20th?
My only concern is, I think the following week is the elections, isn't it?
Oh, you're right, it is.
Yeah, so,
All right, let's confirm
This might
if
be
this
early
date is
voting at that
available.
time.
Yeah.
Is this the early voting center?
I
It's in Washington,
think
early
it's,
voting,
yeah,
yeah.
it's Washington,
You can vote here in the hallway usually, right?
right.
But they don't use this room for that.
Is this room used on election day?
Yes, yeah. In fact, we had to do a quick scramble here to turn it around from yesterday.
Because election day is the 3rd of November.
Yeah, they usually set it up, a few days prior to check the machines and do their thing.
So I guess 3 business days is what they would have to set it up.
So
They don't work on Friday.
you could send us an email on what you find out.
Yeah, and I can check it, right before we leave and confirm that,
People can, do their early voting and then they go.
that's right. 2 birds, 1 stone.
Would
Give
it
us your
just be
feedback.
better to move it to November 11th and not have to worry about any of this?
Armistice Day?
Are you not available on Armistice Day?
I have no objection to that if that's what you prefer to do, if you think it might be a conflict.
Should probably get away from the election.
Well, and give us a little bit more buffer time, because to get the word out, to get all the details in place, and I think more time is good. But
November 11th was?
Yeah.
that'd be the week after our November meeting.
Would you be able to make that one? When's your due date?
October 14th. I took October and November. If I can, I'll come, but I don't know.
Worry about it. It's just, you know,
All
other
right,
things
so we're
to
looking at
focus
November
on.
11th, 6 PM
This room.
here in this room. All right.
11.
We'll come back in September's meeting. Joe will have a final document plan for us to review and
Joe,
Go for it.
question on the two potential expansion areas. Didn't we decide that would be IRO
Yeah.
and not so? It would be clear at the town hall and on any future map that it's IRO.
Yeah, that was the idea, was the initial, would
Okay.
be IRO. Yeah.
Okay.
Be looking it up while I want.
All right. Anything else on master plan? Hearing none, that wraps up 10A. We're going to 10B, which is agribusiness, agritourism. I think that's just wrapped up in the master plan discussion.
Yeah, and I don't even know if we're going to say anything at all about that at the town hall, other than, you know, the town hall, or the master plan work has been focused on the future land use map for commercial and industrial.
Yeah.
And we did ask the questions about, in the survey, about whether or not, you know, there should be some sort of location limitation. And the conclusion and recommendation, Mandy made it, I think it was at the March meeting, that, no, we're not going to limit by location. We'll continue to look at improvements to the ordinance itself, you know, that would more be related to wherever some potential agribusiness would, you know, occur in the township. And Andrew, that's agribusiness that's not protected by the right to farm in the GAMS, like this other stuff. So probably just mention that, right, at the meeting?
Sure, yeah.
Maybe a note in whatever is being presented?
So then how do we close this item out ultimately?
Here would be my thought, is that once we get through with all this and we know there's no changes, the next step would be, is to get with Joe and to actually look at updates to the current language.
Yeah,
That hasn't
actual
been,
amendments.
that hasn't been touched in like 20 years. And then we'd probably, correct Joe, just treat it like any other ordinance change.
At that point, yeah.
Discuss it, you know, refine, have a public hearing if we decide to move forward.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you. That takes us to 10C, which is the property frontage review.
You want me to?
Yep, you're in charge.
Anne Marie provided me with a ton of data that she got from assessing, and I've looked through it, and I will do my best to bring back like just a scenario where there could be issues for September. But I am incredibly busy all through August because I'm part of the Peach Festival Committee.
Okay.
So,
Which committee, I'm sorry?
Peach Festival,
Oh,
Romeo Line. So I'll do my best to turn it around in September, but I will let you know if I can't.
Okay.
So-
When you,
But it's fine, we have time.
maybe this would be either Andrew or Joe. I'm thinking it might be helpful to do a little 101 on the whole, you know, how lot splits come about. We know that there used to be a limitation that's now increased.
I mean, just for me as a planning commission member, I would rather that come from Mitch than me, because I don't need to step on his job here. I'm just, if you want to get like something like written up like that, I can explain it all day, but I don't know if he's willing. If he's willing to do it, I would rather he do it than me step on a contractor for the township. You know, but, and like we had talked about with the scenario that I'm talking about drawing up, I'm not going to show a parcel that exists in this township. I'll use something very similar, but I'm not trying to give anybody an idea of what they can do.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody to be like, oh, I'll just do that right away. So
I think, I don't know.
it'll be a close approximation to a parcel here that I've already kind of looked at, but, yeah. And it can be much to do about nothing, but it's good to know what can happen.
Sure.
We have a lot of vacant land.
Yes. Tons.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
That takes us to 10D, high-intensity industrial regulations.
So you may have noticed this in your packet. It was only like 13 or 14 pages. Yeah, so we have been, by we, I mean me, Rick, and Mandy, have been working on pulling all this together over the last few months. We've looked at this from a lot of different angles. We've looked at other ordinances from all over the place. We've looked at ordinances under development in other places that haven't even been adopted yet. And what I've done here is I've provided an intro memo that basically talks about what is the approach that we're taking here and why. So we're working entirely in the zoning ordinance here. This is the planning commission. That's our territory. Without belaboring the intro memo too much, what we sort of landed on was data centers sparked this conversation. As we know, there are many large ones being proposed and or built all over the country right now to support the AI industry. And they bring with them a lot of potential external harms. And what we decided at the initial phase of this process was, well, all right, if we're concerned about those effects coming from a data center, we should also be concerned about those effects coming from any other high-intensity industrial use. So we're not just writing a section about data centers and plonking it in the ordinance. We're touching a lot of different parts of the ordinance, and we've developed a set of standards that applies to any high-intensity industrial use. And then we're defining any principal use data center as a high-intensity use. So those standards will apply to it. And then there's a few extra standards for data centers themselves. We also wound up dealing with a lot of other sections. So you can see there's a list of 12 sections that are affected. This is on the top of page 4 of that memo. So we've got some definitions that we're adding 9 of them. We have the LI1 special land uses where we have new listed uses. We have a new section governing battery energy storage systems, a new section governing on-site power generation aside from solar power, which we already have standards for. A new section for high-intensity industrial, a new section on data centers, a line added to the parking schedule. A new section on noise, which is a replacement for a subsection that we already have on noise. There is site plan review informational requirements. We've added an additional standard to that. There is a new subsection under development impact statement, and development impact statement has been taken out of the site plan review section and made its own section. So it's easier to find, it calls more attention to it. Right now, I think it's buried and it gets lost. A lot of people don't even look that far into the site plan review section. There is a new section on phased development as well. So if you're building in phases, here are some things that you need to keep in mind and how this is going to work. And then we also have a new section about performance guarantees. So like I said, there's a lot here. It's actually, I said 13 or 14 pages, it's 21. So I don't know if everybody got a chance to really get through everything in the last week. and it's understandable if you haven't. What you're looking at here is if you see text that's blue and underlined, so if you happen to print it out in black and white, it's still underlined, that's new to the ordinance or extremely heavily revised to the point where it might as well be new. If you're seeing strike through, that's existing language that's going to be deleted. There's a little bit of that sprinkled through. And then black plain text is existing language in the ordinance that we're keeping. So up front, it's all blue underlined because all the definitions here are things that we're adding. So we're defining battery energy storage system as well as a few levels of battery energy storage system. Also, on-site battery energy storage system, which is like a accessory thing where you've got, if someone wants to put a Tesla wall pack in their garage or something, we don't want to stop people from doing that. We don't want to have them coming to the planning commission to, essentially install a generator. So we've defined that, and it's handled separately from these utility scale battery energy storage systems. Data centers is kind of the same thing, where we've defined an accessory data center so that, a use, like, let's say, there's a machine shop in the industrial district and they have to have a server room. Well, of course, we want them to be able to have a server room as an accessory to their business. They need it to do business, so we're not going to have them come in with a separate site plan to do that. It's part of their business. It's fine that they've got that.
So no special land use, it's just wherever they are?
Exactly. It's wherever it needs to be, that's where it is. And we've defined it such that they're not providing any IT or data services to a third party. But if you've got another office somewhere, that server room can serve that other office. Like, that's how my company works. We have a server room and it serves all 3 of our locations. And that's how a lot of
We probably have
companies
this
works.
existing now.
Oh, yeah. There's tons of these. Almost everybody's got some little closet somewhere that's got a bunch of computers and servers in it. So we don't want to be interfering with that, which is very fundamental to how business is done today. But if the data center is the principal use of the property and it's serving a bunch of people who aren't on the site, then it's treated as its own use and it requires a site plan. And we're calling that a high-intensity industrial use. And then we've also defined high-intensity industrial. And high-intensity industrial, data center principal, and utility-scale battery energy storage systems have all been added to the list of special land uses in the LI1 district. The regulations for battery energy storage systems are the next thing in the memo. Again, trying to allow those, kind of on-site, this is my generator for when my power goes out kind of batteries, because they're becoming much more common. They should really be allowed. And then there are requirements if you're at the utility level. If you're providing power off-site, then you've got to follow these requirements. So we've got a set of, basic standards and then also a fire and emergency response plan. The technology on these is changing. It's going to continue changing. The fire risk with the newer technologies is a lot lower than the fire risk with the older technologies. It's not entirely zero, but it is a lot lower. However, a lot of these systems, when they build a battery energy storage system, they're not necessarily using the newest technology. They might be using car batteries that have been removed from automobiles. They're not working to propel an automobile anymore because their capacity and output has decreased with time, but they're still good for stationary energy storage. So it's kind of a recycling program essentially for old car batteries where you're stacking them up to create kind of a critical mass of storage, stationary storage. And those batteries are fine for that, and they can last a very long time doing that. So you might still have some older technology batteries used in one of these facilities. I think that fire and emergency response plan remains very relevant because of that. And this is just kind of a tour right now. We're not going to get into the guts of this just yet. once I get through with the tour, we can decide based on the time how deep we want to get into it tonight. On-site power generation, non-solar, what this is basically saying is if you've got some sort of on-site power source, it can't be a hydrocarbon fuel source that you're using to provide any of your continuous energy needs, your peaking needs, your non-emergency electricity. It's for when the power goes out and you're not drawing anymore, then you can use those as a generator, but you're not using them on a constant basis. And that's really a matter of protecting local air quality, the heat that comes off of these things when they're used. That's the main purpose of that section. High-intensity industrial is probably the meatiest meat of this set of standards here. There's a lot in this section. We're talking about, everything from your usual land use standards like setbacks and lot coverage, all the way to how we're handling some of this accessory equipment for cooling and ventilation, requiring public water and sewer, and that's kind of out of respect for our water table, which we know can be very sensitive to new uses tapping in. There's screening standards, there's some public safety standards. There's an annual compliance report. These are going to be very, very large uses, so that's kind of an extra thing that we don't require of anybody else. Power demand verification, a construction management plan. These very large facilities can be built over a course of years sometimes, so we're looking for a plan that tells us where we can expect the traffic that assists the construction, and how they're going to manage that construction. Hazardous materials, there's some waste heat standards, decommissioning standards, not for the buildings themselves, because we don't require anybody else to decommission their building, but for the exterior material, or exterior equipment, such as, heating and cooling equipment. We are looking at a decommissioning plan for that equipment, which is similar to what we would require for a cell tower when it goes out of use. There's some decommissioning standards for battery energy storage systems as well. The section after that is specific to data centers. So it talks about, accessory data centers. You can have them, but they're only for your use. And then you've got some standards for principal data centers. And because there's so much included in the high-intensity industrial uses, there's not a need for a huge long list of things under data centers because the principal data centers are automatically classed as high-intensity industrial. So all those standards apply in addition to these few extra ones that we've got here. The parking schedule, talking about huge buildings with hardly anyone working in them, so you don't really need a lot of parking. We don't want more pavement, more ground coverage than is absolutely necessary on a site that's already going to have huge buildings on it. So we're requiring a very low amount of parking. The next set of standards is noise. Right now, there's like a paragraph in the ordinance, which I included here in strike through below the noise standards. The current standard doesn't really address how you're measuring the sound. It just says 65 decibels. It doesn't say which scale you're measuring those 65 decibels on. So what we've done here is we've broken out into A-weighted, C-weighted, and G-weighted decibels. And these kind of deal with different segments of audible sound. And G-weighted in particular is maybe not even audible sound necessarily, it's infrasound, which is a known problem with large cooling equipment. You get this kind of
Were.
subconscious, yeah, exactly, subconscious whir that's always going. So we wanted to be able to deal with that, so we've set a standard for that. There's also an octave band measurement that you have to do, so you have to be within certain limits among a bunch of different frequency ranges so that we know that you're not okay everywhere except, you know, the 2,000 hertz range, which is one of the ranges in which our hearing is most sensitive. It's certainly considerably more extensive than what we have right now in the ordinance. But for these uses, there are kind of some unique things, but also, you know, if we're doing this for, you know, a data center, we really want to, noise is noise, right? It doesn't really matter where it's coming from. We want to have a universal standard that applies equally to all properties and uses. For our site plan informational requirements, we're just adding a note that says if you're doing a phased development, you need to submit a phasing plan, and then we're telling you in another section what that phasing plan has to include. Under development impact statements, there's some kind of sprinkled changes, and then one larger change. All of them apply to high-intensity industrial uses. And then a larger change under noise impacts, where there's a noise study that's required of all high-intensity industrial uses. Or if you've got on-site utility battery energy storage in your any kind of use, you've got to give us a noise study. Then phase development, so that's a new section. Here's what happens if you're doing a phase development. And then a new section governing how performance guarantees such as bonds or cash letters of credit and things like that work in the township. We don't really have a very comprehensive set of standards for this right now, so adding that to the ordinance just in general, but of course it would apply to these projects as well. And that also includes some specifics about how a bond that is set for decommissioning is treated differently than a bond that's, you know, going to cover, you know, guaranteeing that you put your landscaping in after you get a temporary certificate of occupancy or something like that. So that's the grand tour. It is 8:50, so I am going to throw it back to the Planning Commission for your decision on how much detail you would like to get into tonight and what you'd like to defer for discussion later.
I did go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and it took about 3.5 hours.
No doubt.
I mean, I was blown away at this content. It is very comprehensive. Kudos. I have a lot of questions, but I'm not going to answer them or ask them now.
I have a quick question. When does the moratorium end?
October.
Is it
Okay.
like the third week?
Yeah, something along those lines. So a short extension maybe in order to allow the Planning Commission to fully vet this. But it probably wouldn't need to be a full, you know, doubling of the length of the moratorium. It's just a short extension. Would probably give us enough time through the end of the year or something like that.
Right, so it would be the same thing, digesting all this, fine-tuning it,
Exactly.
setting a public hearing.
And it may even just be a matter of making sure that all your questions are answered. You know, we might not even make that many changes to it, but I want to make sure everybody's questions are answered.
Dana, what's on the agenda right now for September?
We have,
We'll be talking about the master plan, open house materials.
yeah, other than
That would
that,
be one
I
thing.
don't have an applicant.
Okay.
Are we going to, sorry.
I would just propose that we give commissioners time between now and the September meeting to review this in more detail, determine what questions they have, try to wrap up our questions and finalize our stance on this in September, set a public hearing for October, and then look to wrap it up then.
Yeah, and if anybody has questions that they'd like to send in advance, that would be fine too, give us a chance to kind of think about them.
I just have one thing. Is it possible to have the attorney review the performance standards and the decommissioning standards for legality?
Absolutely, yeah.
Of course.
Force somebody to do something that's not technically legal. I'm not saying that they're not.
Say that again, the performance standards and the decommissioning?
The impression they were going to review the whole thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean.
You mean as an interim
Just
step?
before we get too far into it,
Got it.
are we even allowed to ask them to do that?
Yeah, the performance guarantee section.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
Where did most of this material come from?
It comes from a really wide variety of sources. Most of it is in other ordinances somewhere, or a cousin of it is in other ordinances somewhere. In a lot of cases, things have been simplified or combined. So it would be hard to point to a single source for most of it, but it is all sourced from things that are generally in effect right now. Some of it does come from out of state, so in those cases, I really had to look at how it worked with Michigan law, because obviously Virginia has different statutes that it does zoning under than Michigan does. So you want to make sure that you're not plucking something from Virginia and putting it in here, and then it doesn't work because Michigan has a different statute. But we really kind of cast a wide net to find these standards and pull them together. And some of it is things that we came up with on our own because we had a particular concern or question that we didn't find answered anywhere. And yeah, it's a widely sourced hybrid, let's put it that way.
Do you guys know, based on the areas of concern, which this was very helpful, are these kind of similar to what Washington's doing?
To a degree, yeah. I think
mean, I
Washington's looking
understand
at
their
kinda all the
content may
same
be a
things.
little different, the guts, but
Yeah.
these are accepted areas of concerns, at least.
Yeah, that's what you see most commonly addressed. And there are ordinances that have all kinds of other standards, and there are some things that I've found in other ordinances where I'm like, I don't think we can do that. So we really rejected some things, and there's obviously limits to our authority as a municipality too. So we try not to exceed those limits of authority because obviously there's no purpose to adopting something that you can't enforce.
All right. Thank you, Joe, and thank you to the subcommittee that has put in a lot of time. Looks very thorough, and I think we're nearing a good completion on this one, so I know it's been a lot of work. All right, so we will cover that. Please bring any questions you have. So September, we'll look to schedule a public hearing for October and then wrap this one up. And feel free to send Joe any questions you have between now and the next meeting as well. Moving along, there is no new business this evening. Item 12 is comments from committees or consultants. I think we've already heard from.
I've talked enough.
Yep, heard enough from you. Any comments from commissioners? Hearing none, that moves us to 14.
Motion to adjourn?
8:56 PM. Motion by Commissioner Hagelstein, second by Commissioner Grant. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
What do you do for the peach festival?
I thought we'd be here another hour.
Did have one question.